one thing I do which is very controversial is I use a drill to terminate, and that is a very frowned upon thing to do.
Always, from every generation to generation, there's going to be that generational divide of I did things differently, my mentality, my ethic is different to what yours is, and yours will be to the next, and so on.
I'm doing this 4-gang switch while I'm recording, thinking about what I'm having for dinner later on. It's nothing to me. You got to concentrate on what you're doing.
Hello and welcome back to SGTV. Once again, we're joined by James from Life Sparks, another Midlands follically challenged wonder, I might say.
Thank you. What an introduction.
That's probably the best introduction I've ever done.
That's probably the best I've ever had.
Yeah. We've done another episode with James where we've been talking about social media.
So long ago.
Sorry,
like so long ago.
It's like it wasn't filmed just before this episode. But that's on the channel, so if you want to keep an eye out for that one, please check that one out. But right now, we're going to be talking about techniques and more specifically modern techniques. Because as a lot of our audience may know, you've blew up basically on social media, and a lot of that is for the techniques you're doing, whether it's stripping cables, how fast you are, even bashing out plaster where people have skimmed into your sockets. I'd say a lot of people, from the comments I've seen, may see your approach, your techniques as unconventional. What do you think you're doing differently compared to, let's say, I don't know, a previous generation?
Well, to be fair, I'm doing similar to a previous generation in some aspects. A lot of electricians now, all the new tools like the cable strippers, the automatic ones, knives and this and that. I used to use a Stanley blade, so now they've got special knives, you know, electricians' knives with like safety bits on and that. I strip a 16mm mains with a Stanley blade. So me doing that, people are straight away, oh, you're stripping towards your hand, but when you've done that loads of times, like I've never cut myself. It's like the first thing you get taught is don't strip towards your hand, and then just strip it, Stanley blade. Another thing I do is a lot of sparkies do this. Pull the earth is a technique a lot of sparkies use, but again, because you've got all these cable stripping devices now, it's like, oh, you shouldn't pull the earth, just strip it like that. But yeah, pulling the earth is a normal one. But one thing I do which is very controversial is I use a drill to terminate, and that is a very frowned upon thing to do because in electrics, I don't know if you know, like torque settings and tightening to the right torque setting is very important to manufacturer specification to get the best connection. Now, unless you're using a torque screwdriver, it's impossible to get the right torque setting. Yeah. So if you're using a hand, even your hand's going to tighten it. But people think I'm being like a brute monster with a drill, but I'm actually very delicate with a drill. So if you watch a video, I've actually done one explaining it. When I tighten it, I don't use the torque setting on the drill. I wait for the murmur of the engine, so I can hear when the engine starts to struggle a bit, the motor in the drill, so it goes, and I know I'm tight. I don't wait for it, I don't go and drill it in. It's more delicate than you think, but because I do it quick and it looks bombastic, but when you've done 50,000 sockets in your life, it's what I do every day. And yeah, maybe I've done the odd bad termination. I don't know. I've never had.
Not had any blowback so far.
No, I've never. I'm very thorough. I always say, if you're going to terminate, you make sure you hit the copper. That's the most important thing. The worst thing you can do in electrics, and the most fires, and people say this is what bad torque settings do. No. A loose connection completely will cause a fire. And if someone's crimped on the insulation. So another thing Sparky says, oh, you shouldn't have no copper showing in a terminal. So when your copper goes into a socket. Where I said to my apprentice, I would rather you have 2 mil of copper showing out of that socket and you've made a good termination. So I know you've hit copper. But when I'm checking your sockets, if I can't see copper showing out the end, I don't know now whether you've crimped the insulation on the inside. So from me as a teaching aspect, I'm trying to tell him, hit the copper. If you're double guessing yourself whether you've hit the copper, you need to check again. And a way of always knowing is by leaving a little bit of copper showing, and that is frowned upon massively. But when the top of a terminal, the screw terminal, is live anyway. So you know you're actually using the screw. That's a live part because you've put your live in there. So what's the big deal with a mill sticking out so you can see that you haven't hit insulation? And that's the biggest cause of fires, would be pushing the cable too far in, straight on the insulation. You've made a little connection through the insulation. That's going to create heat, and there's your fire. Yes, everyone should be talking everything, fuse board, torque settings. People see my fuse board and think I'm using an impact driver and that's it, and I'm just going to leave the board like that. After I'm done, company has one tester that's very stringent and tests our work thoroughly. So he goes around, talks it and everything, but they all think that I'm just this bombastic. I'm not. You know what I mean? Our company is very thorough. So it's just the way it looks, I suppose.
Things are getting lost in translation.
Yeah.
When you're doing a fast snippet on Instagram or
Another thing
Snapchat.
is these torque screwdrivers are £100. It's like when you're an apprentice, who's gonna, someone's got to pay for that. And if your company have seen you terminate 1,000 sockets previously with no problems, why are they then going to go and spend £100 or £200 on a torque setting so you can torque every? But that's what manufacturers say. You got to torque up to this setting. But I've installed thousands and there's never been a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't do what the manufacturers say. I'm just saying I'll do it my way, but I am going to get a torque screwdriver. Someone's going to send me one, and I'm probably going to start using it. To
send him a torque driver.
I don't want to teach bad methods because I didn't start to. God, this is the way you should do. I'm not one of them that go against everything. If you should do it the proper way, you should. But I've done thousands of them and never had a problem. So it's not like shoot me down because I'm causing fires left, right, and centre. That's how it comes across. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. It's like I get your point. Just calm down. Yeah, I'll maybe.
So, do you get much blowback on social for that kind of thing?
Loads, but I enjoy that part of it because I like to hear methods. I like to. It's people reading the comments. There, it's entertainment, isn't it? It's like you're doing this, you're doing that wrong. You see opinions, you see other people's way, and that's the best part about it. Learning how other people work and different methods is the best part about it. Yeah, I like that. I've got no problem with someone criticising my work because the easiest thing to do in life is point something saying that's wrong. Doing the job is the hard part. You know what I mean? Anyone can come in like and point the finger. So Another thing I say is I probably fit if it's a busy period. I'm second fixing a house a day, so that's a fuse board a day. So I'm doing more fuse boards in a week than most sparkies might do in a year or whatever the situation. You know what I mean? This is house bashes in general. That's how quick pace it is. I might fit, I don't know, 10,000 sockets in a year. It's a lot. Yes. That's why I say this to my apprentice. Do something. If something you find difficult in a fix, do it more. Because one day, say there's a big juicy 4-gang switch to go for. He thinks I'm avoiding stuff. I'm like, mate, I want that. That's my dessert today. I've been looking forward to that switch because I'm going to... My cousin told me that. He was like, anything you struggle on, do more, do it every day, because eventually that thing you struggle on becomes a
you'll end up avoiding it. And then has a knock-on effect.
But it's funny because your apprentice won't believe it. When I say to him, it's all the same to me. And he's like, hey, oh, you're avoiding that. I'm not. I'll do anything. It's all the same. Do you want me to jump in the lava? My best way to an apprentice is if, say, there's an awkward job that's got to be done, and it's always like setting the apprentice up. If I say to him, do this, and he's good, he'll do anything. If I say to him, do this, if I see any kind of hesitation, or I'll do it, all right. And that's the biggest shame for him because he's like, he's going to let me do it. He's going to go and do it now.
Lead by example.
Yeah. So that's the way it is. There's loads of things that method-wise in electrics. There's loads of different ways, but there's so many great tools out now that make the job easier. I'm just that used to I do everything beside gutters.
Do you get positive feedback? Do you get
100%. I get loads of people. For everyone that says you're doing it wrong, you get the same amount of people doing it right. This is how this is old school spark. This is how it's done.
Do you think the demographics change on that? Because when I asked you your first question, you said, actually, no, I'm doing it the old way. Do you find there's older generations saying, oh, I used to do it like that, or younger guys saying, oh, I want to learn how to do it that way?
I think now because the standards of electricians have got better and, the governing bodies have been more stringent in how things are done and there's more regulation and so on. I think obviously new sparks coming through are being taught the correct methods, i.e. torque drivers, stripping the cable properly. People always say, oh, the way you've done it, you've marked the cores. I haven't. When I pull a cable off, they think I'm scratching the cores as I'm doing it. I don't actually snip. I just grip it and it's the pull that snaps the end off. That's why I need that tension, so it snaps off. But they immediately go, you're marking the cores. That's because someone's told them that. But you can do it my way and not cause damage to the cores. That's the difference. But one thing I will say is if you're an electrician and using all these tools, your hands aren't going to get hardened. And that is in the construction industry and being an electrician, especially. I remember when I first started, my brother would go into the screw tub and he'd just grab a bunch of screws and put them in his pocket. I'll go do the same. It was like putting your hands in a pack of needles. How are you doing that? I couldn't get my head around how he was just picking up them screws. Now I could just... And it's just all it is your hands toughening up.
Yeah.
And if you're using all these fancy tools, and people say, I don't want my hands to get roughed up, but that's part of the job. You gotta get going. You know, you gotta get involved with it and crack on with the work. And I think some of the tools now take that away from it slightly. Take the rough and ready kind of, because that's what it is when you're on, especially new build stuff. You're dealing with a lot of personalities, a lot of people.
Do you find your techniques and that you're putting on social media now being picked up by others? Have you had other people approach you and be like, actually, you know, I've tried doing this?
Yeah. A lot of, well, originally that's it. I tried to do a little competition and a few. Like I was just basically saying, anyone that does it, I'll put your video up. But no one, I've had probably like 4 people do it. It's like, what? And it's because people struggle to do it, or they can't do it as quick or as good. So I'm not boasting, but it's not as easy as I thought it was, and other people struggle with it a little bit. And I've had other influencers that have done similar videos and they've tried to copy it a little bit. No, hey, carry on, you got to do it, try anything. It's just not as good. They can't do it as good, which is just, I do it. When you're doing, I don't know, 100 spotlights a week, and you've done it for 7 years, 9 years, it's like, obviously the experience I've got, they might have a spotlight job once a week, at the max, it's 10 a year. There's a period where I was doing 30 spotlights a day, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm so good at it.
Do you think you've become a positive influence?
I hope so. I wouldn't like to think people that I'm making anyone's work worse, and if someone has seen my method and they're doing it a different way they've been taught, then carry on doing it the way you used to, don't copy me. But as for the work ethic that I try and portray, and what people ask me about, if you see my stories, I'm in the van, I'm up at half 5 every day, I'm in the van, pick my apprentice up at 6 o'clock. That's something he had to get used to, because be on site first, because if you get there after, you got to wait for everyone else to unload. So it's not just the way I'm stripping, it's the work ethic. And I'm a firm believer. I know back in the day they used to have, what's it called, when you have to enroll to the army. I think every kid, if you ain't got a career or go in college or university, you should go to a building site for a year, just to give you that experience of personalities, bit of labour, bit of timekeeping, what it's actually like. Because a big shock for me was, especially when I first started working with my brother, obviously I'm thinking I'm the man, you know, I've come from all different types of life and whatever, and I'm seeing this 58-year-old bloke on top of a roof at 6 a.m. and there's a crane already, and I'm like, these lot are different world. And kids these days that are on the street, they don't know what they're doing, they have no idea these men exist. You wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, there's other people awake. You know what I mean? I'm not special because I've got up early. There's people moving, and all these people staying in bed. The world's moving without you. You know, I mean, unless you've got other avenues to achieve things, and that's brilliant for you. But I think that's something that's, especially now, the gap between the people that can do the teaching, i.e. me, and the children, the gap in social groups, and it's so distant, it's harder for them to get involved with the people that are willing, and the older people don't want certain attitudes that the new generation have got. Do you know what I mean? That attitude, it's so hard to get used to. Yeah. Back in the day, kids were more, shut up, don't speak, do as you're told. Now it's like, they speak, they talk. So if you're trying to teach them, it takes a lot from my perspective to accept their...
So how do you bridge that gap though? Because there's a million reasons why you could say kids are lazy or disrespectful or whatever people want to label kids as now compared to what they were.
Yeah.
But how do you bridge that gap? Because there's always, from every generation to generation, there's going to be that generational divide of, I did things differently, my mentality, my ethic is different to what yours is, and yours will be to the next, and so on. But maybe it's always been the distance it has, but maybe people now see it as bigger than it has ever been for whatever reasons. But how do you bridge that gap? How do you make that relationship, I believe, teaching bond better?
It's all to do with respect, and it's the old apprentice thing, isn't it? Like when you get a new apprentice, you take the mick out of them, you make life a bit difficult, you laugh at them when they do something wrong. Now it is funny, but it's also it's more detrimental than you think to the person who's on the receiving end, because that can be the point where they either carry on pursuing the career or they think it's not for me, I ain't got the personality. So I'm more of a understanding kind. I may not see it from the way it's going on in social media, but if you spoke to my apprentice, there's times where he has infuriated me with his attitude, and I have had to just swallow it. Now I was the same with my brother when he was teaching me, because I seen it as I'm old and I'm a man, you know, you can't tell me. So I had to listen. And even when he was telling me something and I had no idea, I'd try and word it in a way that I was telling him, you know, that kind of stupid mentality. And that's what you get, especially with the young lot now. They either don't want to listen or they know it all anyway because they've seen a TikTok. You know what I mean? Or they've learnt this and they're telling you stuff and you're like, hold on, just listen. You know what I mean? And you've got to show the kids a bit of respect and you've got to want them to succeed. And that's another thing. I think when apprentices start a company, I've seen it before where you hate it immediately. You're like, oh, they're quick people, especially electricians, they're quick to go, oh, he's done this, he's done that, he's messed up. It's like, we had a group chat once with the lads at our company and I left it because I was seeing someone's done some bad work. Might have been mine, I don't know. At the time, I can't remember. Nothing major, but something small. And it's in the group chat and then all the other lads are picking at this problem. I've seen you and all done something bad in the past, and you're now pointing the finger at this young lad who's fresh. And I can't. It's the hypocrisy. There's too many hypocrites. So there's too much point the finger blame rather than actually care and teach and pass the knowledge on. I
think I'm a firm believer that if you're in charge of teaching someone, leading someone, managing someone, or whatever it is, you've got to. You can't. It doesn't work where you can dress someone down anymore. Some instances, some extremities maybe, but I think it comes to a point, if they've done something wrong, point it out to them politely, respectfully, tell them what they could have done better, tell them how they should have done it, perhaps even show them firsthand, lead by example and move on. I think someone teaching you that way, you're going to get, you're not good. I think people make more mistakes under stress. And if someone's breathing down your neck because you did something wrong before,
you've got to make mistakes to learn. In my opinion, you know, what I mean, the best lessons are the ones you've learnt yourself, rather than you can learn from someone teaching you and you can try and advise someone. But when I've done it to my apprentice as a video, I let him do a fuse board once, and I knew where the plumber's pipes were. There's a radiator just off by the way the fuse board was fitting. So in I'm thinking, I'll leave him to it. I know he's going to hit them pipes. But I thought if I go down and confront him and say, if you check this, it's going to get a bit awkward because he's going to be like, oh, I know that. So I thought, just see, hopefully he don't, but I know he's. And he drilled the pipes straight through, fitted the fuse board, and hit 2 radiators. He didn't even know the board's fitted. I'm like, what about them pipes? And he went, oh. But he learned. Do you know what I mean? Now I know that lesson.
That's mean.
But it will stick with him. So next time if it's a fuse board, mate, it's just. And I'd rather do it in that environment where it's not a lived-in house, or there is actually it was a plot that wasn't commissioned yet. The plumber's the first fix is there. The plumber had to repair the pipe, but it was one of them moments where I could show him a lesson. It's like I made it happen, to be fair, but I was well aware of what was going on. But I knew he'd learn the lesson. So
how did you come about ending up with an apprentice then?
I'm at the point now where I can't work on my own. It's very awkward for me because if I've got no one to pick up in the morning, it's like, oh God, I've got to get up out of bed. You know, it's just having a workmate is a thing, isn't it? So my old apprentice, he's moved on and he's on his own now. And I said to my gaffer, look, I want another apprentice. So this chap through someone had said he wanted my apprentice now had said he wanted a job. So my gaffer was like, just go and pick him up. And he only lives in Tamworth. So I went to pick him up, and to this day, I pick him up and I thought straight away, there's not many people. He was a nice lad, decent, but I could tell straight away what he was like. I knew after speaking to him, I knew his background. I knew it. It was very difficult. Imagine all of a sudden you got this bloke. He's a man. I'm a man. I've got to come and pick him up, and I've got to say, mate, we've got to get earlier. But if he hit him with it too much, I didn't want him to get upset and leave. You know what I mean? Because there's that. All of a sudden you got someone pressuring you out. This, you got to be earlier. You got to be faster. You got to be this. It's not the right way. So I just, I nurtured him, I suppose. I don't know. I didn't attack him too much. Just let it go on, and he's still there. He's doing brilliantly. He's done well, man.
He's gaining some traction on social media.
Yeah, he's got a page in that. Yeah, Roadman Spark. So you can tell what his background is. But I know that's a controversial thing to say, but.
Is he a roadman, or is it?
Nah, everyone's got a past, haven't they? But obviously, same as me, I got to 26 and I had nothing, and I was like, what am I doing? I need a career. I need something that I can say, I am this. And my best thing to say to him, because he's had days where it's been hard, like 6 o'clock in the morning, you got me picking you up, stinking or whatever, this sweaty bloke in the van. I've got to pick him up, and he's got to come to me and listen to me now on a building site. It's dark, cold. There's wind, with no windows, there's wind, it's horrible. And you've got to get in there now, nitty gritty, unload your tools, unload your cable and crack on in the first fix. That for someone at 26 is a big shock. If you've never done it, he said to me, he's had warehouse jobs, he's had this. All of a sudden you've got this environment you're in. it's a lot to take on, and he's took it. I had to do it, and once you're used to it, it's like you get a thriving off it. Then like, we'll go in there and we'll crack this out. It's and you got to do it together. You know, without that togetherness, it's like doing it on your own is a problem. It can get to you. But
do you find he's picking up the same sort of work ethic you have?
Yeah, he is, and that's again one of the only sparks. I've said it in the last episode. I am a clean spark. I will go into a plot and clean it before I start. I'll clean it halfway through, and I'll clean it before I go. That's the way I work. I can't work in mess. If you work in mess, your work's going to be messy. He's messy, my apprentice, right? But I don't go around to him, pick that up, pick that up, pick that up. I'll go around and clean up after him. Now, you take that how you want it, but again, it's that psychological thing where
shame him.
Yeah, and he'll know, but I know when he's on his own, he can't say to me, oh, James didn't do that, or Life Sparks didn't do that. He knows I was clean, and it's going to be instilled in him because to this day, he's one of them. I used to be like it. You get more. What's the word now? You get more energy efficient. You get more efficient. Yeah, efficient in everything you do. So if you go downstairs, take something with you. If you go upstairs, take what you need. Clean up as you go. Still sweep up after, but you got to move in a certain way, and it all comes to that upbringing. It's down to everything in life. It all leads on to work. So I know it sounds like I'm making a big deal out of a clean plot. When you got to first fix a house in one day, that little thing that's in the cable is going to annoy me. You know, a block of bricks or a door or something. Sod's law says when you're uncalling your cable, it's going to get caught on the door handle. So move it. It's one of them. And that little bit of experience is making the plot clean, taking your time, and is something that I know he'll remember because I don't go on about it, but he knows it's there. I would just go and start cleaning up around him, or I'll
bashing his feet with the broom.
It's a thing. He knows it as well. But
I have to put this straight though. As an electrician, you know what a broom is, don't you?
I do, mate. It's my number one tool. If my apprentice was in there, he would tell you I will go on a 10-minute walk around a building site through every plot to find a broom before I start work. And if someone's took my broom, it's a nightmare. I'd rather them take my drill. Yeah, because brooms on building sites are scarce. I think the labourers hide them on purpose so they can say that so they don't have to use them. But
would you say you've learned anything from what's his name? Roadman.
Yeah, his name's Josh.
What would you say you've learned anything from Josh? Has he taught you anything? Because I find when you get speaking to people, although they've learned from the people that have taught them, whether it's their brother or people at college, you find you get out onto site and there might be some newbie, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 10 years or whatever. He might actually teach you a thing or two.
He hasn't taught me anything in regards to electrics, but he has taught me. He's made me realise what I was like, because it's only now I see him do something and I go, I've done the exact same thing to my brother. I've done the exact same thing. Or I'll go to show him a switch and I'll say it how I say it, and he'll say, you're not saying it right. And I'll be like, sorry, I don't know how to, I'm sorry, I don't speak how you want me to, right? And you got a way with words you have. I'm like, Josh, I don't mean anything by it. And this is how it's coming across. Maybe it's just me, but I used to do the same to my brother. I'm like, you're not explaining that properly. And the audacity of me, he's taking his time out to teach me, and I'm going, you're not teaching me the right way. I mean, it's because I'm arsey, because I can't understand it. And I understand now what I was like as an apprentice.
So you've been and apologised to your brother since?
Well, no,
like,
never,
I'm sorry.
That. I hope you don't watch this, but yeah. He did teach me everything I know, and I know I was awkward. And that it's not awkwardness. What it is, it's that man. He's a man.
Pride, isn't it?
It's pride. He's a man. I'm a man, and he has got to listen to me now because I can do it and he can't. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow for some people, especially if you come from a background where you haven't had a father figure and you've been the man. You're used to being the man of the house, and you've always provided and whatever, and now you've got to listen to a man.
How difficult is it though? Do you think to swallow that and be like, look, as mature as I think I am, because I've had to step up and be self-resilient, I've now got to pull that down a bit to accept some knowledge. And
what happens is when they feel like they're not getting anywhere, it gets a lot for them because they're like, it's not benefit me. But then every now and again they'll have like a breakthrough, and it gets them this pride and enjoyment because they've clocked it, and then they realise that listening to me has a benefit because he's not qualified, but I know I could take him to someone's house now and go, switch there, light there, 6 spotlights in there, fan isolator, put them boxes on, heights, he can go and wire a house. He'd struggle like the whole thing and knowing circuits and whatnot, and he wouldn't understand fully. Like, he doesn't fully understand circuits now or diagrams or anything like that, but that'll click one day. I'm teaching him how to go in and wire a house, and that a lot of people say cable monkeys, but the work is in the work. You know what I mean? It's doing it. and doing it at an efficient pace and to a high standard, a reg standard, and that's the difference. And that's what I'm teaching him, and he sees it because he live streams on TikTok, so he's proud to show it. And I've seen him do upstairs, and he'll go, "Is that a good fix?" I say, "Mate, that's better than some of the lads that have been at our company for 10 years."
And there's more than one way of learning. You can go into, and I'm not discrediting any way of learning, as long as you've learned it. You can go into a classroom, learn something on a board. Yeah. You can look at diagrams on a sheet of paper. Yeah. You can go in and run through a house from top to bottom.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing it safely,
it can
that's the main thing.
It's certain things in life what are difficult. So I had this, say if I see my brother doing something, I'm like, how long is it going to take me to be able to do that? And I said it to him the other day, I said, don't try and compete with me, because I'm not even trying anymore. You don't understand. And that's not, again, it's not me boasting. I'm doing this 4-gang switch while I'm recording, thinking about what I'm having for dinner later on. It's nothing to me. You got to concentrate on what you're doing. And it's the same with, a bit similar to social media, because obviously I've got this, my following's gone up in a short space of time. So I said to him, start it with cracker, and he got a bit disheartened with it. He's doing brilliantly on TikTok now. But I seen it, and it's the same with work. You shouldn't give up, because I seen someone, this is going a bit towards the social media side of it then, but it was a brilliant thing I heard. With social media, someone else, I'm nicking someone else's saying, but it was something like, if you could play the lottery for free every day, how often would you play it? And it'd be like, you'd play it as much as you can, as much as you can play, give me a ticket. It's the same with Instagram and TikTok and Reels. Every time you post a video, it's the lottery, because you've only got 1 or 2 or every now and again to blow up. And you've done something, all of a sudden you've got followers. So don't get disheartened. It's the same with switches. Just because you do a bad one, it'll get better. Do you know what I mean? You can't give up. You got to just, it's the same with everything, isn't it? You just crack on.
So what do you think you could do going forward? Obviously, we see you as an influencer, an influencer on social media. Do you think there's something in that going further that you want to do? You want to be helping people out more? You want to educate?
Education. The problem is, it all comes down to money, really. Let's be honest. I've been offered a teacher's position before I was qualified. Someone said to me, "There's jobs here, you've only got to take this and you can come and teach here." And I looked at it, and the wages were just, and this is detrimental to teachers. It's this thing saying they're not getting paid great money. And these days, people think £50,000 a year. No offence to anyone here, but if you've got a wife, a mortgage, kids, I spend £400 a month just on sending my kids to jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and dance, and £50,000 a year to a family that's actually trying to do stuff it's not in the way things are with money these days. It's not brilliant. You know what I mean? If you want to start going on holidays and that kind of thing, it's tough. I don't know if I'm answering the right question, but
no, it's good. It's an honest answer, and I think you've also opened up another conversation. Because we've sort of gone on to education here, and one thing we often hear. And don't get me wrong, I've met some incredible lecturers over the years from all over the country, from down in Essex to Leicester to Wales. Absolutely brilliant, and the proof is in the pudding of their students, the results they get. But I've also spoken to a lot of students, a lot of apprentices. It's up and down the country who have said, I've had 4 lecturers this year that have dropped off, and if you haven't got that...
Same with lads at our place.
If you haven't got that consistent mentor
who you respect and respects you, and is there to do the
there's
job.
That relationship. As you say, it's difficult to gain the trust and hold the concentration and respect of someone, let alone someone who's now got all the distractions of social media and whatever else. And that is an issue.
And they're doing it for £30,000 a year. Or whatever. I don't know what the wages are, but
it's a bigger question. Probably too much for us to go into, but it is a bigger issue.
Same with I don't know if you want to go into that, but I feel the same about normal schools as well. So I'm in the process of taking my son out of school and homeschooling him, and just I think it's detrimental to him being at school. Big subject.
No, it's interesting.
Big subject.
We've spoken before quite in depth about how, take the academic side out. There's not a lot of push in schools for trades, and I've been quite vocal about this. And I think there are some kids who aren't going to go down an academic route where trades would be absolutely perfect for them. But flip that, I've also seen very academically gifted people go into electrician, into electrical work, into engineering work, and they've slotted right in. But they didn't have that at the start. They weren't even aware of that.
A big thing in the schools is obviously the opportunities and what's available for them to learn. But like you say, certain kids adhere to certain different subjects and have different capabilities. Not all academic, and some have talents in other areas. But the social side of it. So many children have different social capabilities, and social skills are just as important as any skill. Now, if your son isn't used to certain types of children, he's going to be seen differently, and that can be the problem. So you get kids in schools, a lot of kids, that the teachers aren't 100% identifying what's going on in a certain situation. But I just see it as there's not enough concentration to identify exactly what's needed for certain children. It's just too widespread. That's the curriculum. That's what it is. And that's how you got to get on with it. Like, there's loads of details I could go into in regards to what specifics for my son. But I just see as school, unless things change, I could do a better job at home in 3 hours a day with my son. He'd have more concentration, more actually hands-on learning, rather than listening to that naughty kid distract the class, that naughty kid distract the class. As for actually, once you take out breaks and teachers coming in and class settling down and all that, the time learning is so minimal compared to the amount of time they're at school. It's like, what? It's such a waste of time. There's no. When I was a kid, it was sit down, shut up. You know what I mean? It's like, you had the odd teacher you might be a bit loose and you could get away with stuff from, but now it's like, from what my son's saying, it's like most classes are a mess around, mate. And it's like, it's detrimental to him. I could set him, I could set him at home a set of things to do, and he'd do it.
I think there's a mentality which I quite like. I can't remember who I heard it from, but it's obviously you can't change the world, you can't change everyone, but you can be responsible for your circle. So whether that's your son, your brother, your apprentice, if there's someone that you're involved with, and let's talk specifically trade here, if there's someone you're specifically involved with, whether that's your apprentice or even just people who are at your level on site, you can be responsible with them, for them, and have that positive influential effect, in my opinion. And that could make, although that's just a small bubble, a lot of small bubbles will meet at some point, and I think that's a good way of just making a small dent in where education and influence may be falling down in some aspects.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We went deep there.
I know, yeah. Oh, mate, I'm one of them. I could go into so many subjects, but yeah. It's like, what was the original thing? It was about education.
We were talking about modern techniques, but techniques, education, it's all related.
So it's hard to control who your children and other people's children are mixing with, and that is the big thing. If the teachers aren't as bothered as they used to be, the wages haven't increased compared to. If you look at the wage gap to what how the price of things are now, it hasn't rose equally. So now, for what they're getting paid, to get better teachers, you're gonna have to pay more. I just think the wages in general across the board. My dad says it to me. He's like, I remember when £500 a week was a good wage. I'm like, Dad, that's mortgages now and rental and rents is just astronomical. It's like it doesn't touch the surface. You're on £500 a week. Them days are gone. And he thought that was a good wage till last week. He was saying it to me, and I'm like, you don't understand. It's a different world now. We're only talking 10 years ago, but it's a different world. But the wages, compared to what things cost, the wages haven't gone up. And tomato sauce, you got something as basic as tomato sauce, and it's like the price difference.
I buy the own brand stuff now. I ain't buying Heinz.
The price difference is huge. We was on about it as in a joke earlier on, poppadoms, mate. You look at the price of a poppadom compared to scallop, mate, from the chip shop.
Yeah.
A Freddo.
Freddo is how you monitor the economy. Yeah. So that's the problem. That's the problem. Where the reason why education's falling short, it can be linked directly to a Freddo.
Or a scallop.
And a poppadom. But no, I do think you're right. I think funding for education, for lecturers specifically, it isn't great. Doesn't mean they don't do a great job, because, as I say,
it's going to school and looking after someone else's kids who aren't very grateful. You know what I mean? I'd struggle to do it because someone's going to get on the bad side. Yeah, you know what I mean? You got to.
And maybe things will change. I'm not going into politics or governments, but there's a change obviously now. Yeah. Whether that's going to be good or bad, maybe things will change. Who knows? I'll leave it at that for now, because politics is let's leave that over there. But hopefully. There might be some change, whether it's this government, one in the future.
I think they should, especially construction-wise, a good thing to do would be concentrate on older kids, not forgetting the younger ones. But if you look at the gap with like 22 or 24 to 30, there's a lot of blokes out there and women that have got nowhere. They've been through the education system, never really had a proper job or achieved any kind of qualification, and they just don't know what to do. Whereas if there was an apprenticeship that helped with pay so they could still feed their family and survive, because now they've got kids and responsibilities, then responsibilities are what's going to make them knuckle down and achieve a qualification. And even people coming out of prison, yes, they might have attitudes and you have to approach them a different way, but there's people that are willing to graft rather than relying on the young kids which have more TikTok tendencies, and they can earn money on TikTok and they can earn money through all different media ways. But construction wise, I think they need to focus on the generation before that are just at the gap now where there's a lot of them, and they can be useful if they're taught the right way. But yeah.
I think, again, I don't mean to... There's some young people out there who are brilliant, who are switched on. I've met some incredible ones who are probably more disciplined than me in some respects. But I think as you get older and you do have a family to rely on or bills to pay, you probably are a little bit more disciplined and thinking, okay, you know, I've tried this, I've tried that, I really do need to knuckle down on something. Yeah. And if you do get stuck, if you do get a trade opportunity in front of you, I do believe that when you're in that older position, there's a good chance you're going to get your head down and get stuck into that.
Just the opportunity being there is the problem,
I would like to mention, though, Apprentice 1-to-1. We spoke about them before. We've spoken with Mark Allison. Amazing what he's doing. So we'll probably put something in the description for that, for anyone who might be looking for that kind of thing. Definitely
There's
worth checking.
I get a lot of people DM me and I'm like, our company aren't taking on, mate. And that's the problem. It all comes down to work, doesn't it? And if there's work there for them to take people on.
Okay. I think that brings us to the end of this episode.
Okay.
But as always, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification button below. We try and do these videos to be helpful, informative, and we hope they are of use to you guys and girls out there watching this. You can also follow James at LiveSparks. Where can they find you?
Instagram, Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, but not too tough on YouTube. But yeah, LiveSparks on any platform.
Well worth checking out.
Yes, thank you.
James, thank you for coming down again.
Thanks for inviting me.
And we'll see you in the next one.